Hi, I'm Joseph True, and today I'll be playing Different by Micah Tyler. I don't want to hear anymore, teach me to listen. I don't want to see anymore, give me a vision that you could move this heart to be set apart. I don't need to recognize the man in the mirror, and I don't want to trade your plan for something familiar. I can't waste a day, I can't stay the same. I wanna be different, I wanna be changed, till all of me's gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different in me. I don't want to spend my life stuck in a pattern, and I don't want to gain the world but lose what matters. And so I'm giving up everything because I want to be different, I want to be changed, till all of me's gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different in me.
Ephesians 2:10, where Pastor spoke and said that we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, that we may walk in them. That's awesome. That is so cool, because it just shows that, as children of God, we're already set on a path to succeed. We're set on a path where God wants to use us in some way. All we have to do, number one, before getting anxiety, fearing, and doing all these things, is trust in God and believe in Him, and then continue hustling and doing our thing. We cannot manage time. We can only manage ourselves in time. And I've never heard it said like that before. It was awesome to see that we're not God. We can't stop time and pause time. It's not the Matrix. We can't just pause things and do them. And it was so kind of eye-opening to see that you can kind of look at the vision that you have and set goals, even if monthly, yearly, whatever goals, and go towards that vision. It was awesome to see that, and it was even more awesome to see that planning is those day-to-day tasks that kind of open the door to now achieving those goals and setting you on a path to hitting the vision that you want to accomplish. Goals and planning, and I remember it was more of just a lot of things we learned here were practical things. Rather than just saying these things that we usually say, it's now putting them on paper and doing them. Where we have to set routines, we have to repeat these things and do them over and over again. That's, I think, our challenge. That's my challenge, but I'm definitely hoping to be using this not just 2 months from now, but even 3 years, 5 years from now, and seeing how they'll just help me and build me as a man. Hey guys, my name is Seth, and I was part of NVSL mentorship program headed by Pastor Boniface, and Dr. Roger Webb was also one of our coaches in these sessions.
Hi guys, we are on day number 4, and our theme for the conference has been defining your future. So we have a very interesting topic for us to talk about. Actually, quite a number of people have been asking about it, and this is about relationships. The person that you marry or get married to will indeed define your future. In fact, this is one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life. It's one decision that will either build you or cause you so many issues. And so we're here to help you with this. We may not answer all the questions or address all the issues, but we'll get the conversation going and started. And there's so much for you to learn. And so today I have a special guest who's with us, and this is my precious wife, Dorcas.
Hello everyone, my name is Dorcas Gishuru and I'm excited to be here with you. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm a mother of two, Rebecca and Joseph, and they are behind the cameras today, and they're the ones who'll be asking us questions. So we are off to a good start and it's going to be very interesting. I look forward to this.
Absolutely.
All right, so for the first question, it is, how did you guys meet?
Oh wow, that's an interesting question. It goes back in the day, doesn't
In
it?
the day, back in the day.
October 1992.
That's right.
I met this precious, amazing girl, and I took an interest to her, and we started talking and building a relationship, getting to know each other. And the more I got to know her, the more I liked her. And slowly we started building some romance. I saw we had a lot of common values and great things that are happening. And so we started it off actually after about 2 years.
That's right. I think we started off, yes, that's right. We were friends for 2 years, for a while there. And then in 1994, we started courting. And he was a first year in college, but at this time he was a third year. And I was a second year in college. So after that, he graduated and I continued with college. He came to the United States for further education and he was here for 2 years. Then after that, after graduating, he came back home and we got married. And after, say, 7 months or so,
That's right.
yeah, we headed back here and we have been married for the last 20 years. And it has been a pleasure and honor being married to you. So yeah, it's
Amen.
been 20 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I just want to tell you guys, I know there's a lot in the day and age that you're living in. You hear a lot of divorce and all kind of things, people being unfaithful in marriage. And it's true that marriage is work and takes a lot of commitment. But let me tell you guys, marriage is great. It is possible if you do it right and you have the right person in your life. I tell you, you can experience the blessings even during the challenges and the issues that may come. I mean, it is possible to have a faithful and true marriage. So we'll get into this more and we'll hear from our hosts.
What do you like about marriage?
That's an interesting question. There's quite a lot that I love about our marriage, but I'll just take a few highlights of it. I think one aspect of marriage being married to Boniface that I really truly enjoy is the companionship. You know, having someone that is there and has my back, having someone that I can talk to and be vulnerable to without the fear of being judged or, you know, belittled or anything like that. Having a prayer partner that is there to pray with me and to see we're there for each other, to see each other through the thick and the thin of life, through the joys, through the ups and the downs, because you know all that is in marriage. But just having someone to go through life like that is such a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when it comes to companionship, I value so much the aspect of vulnerability. You know,
Right,
I don't
right.
have to pretend. I don't have to show myself as always been strong and that I'm dying in the inside. That I have this person who's truly my best friend, and I honestly say that. You know, who I can talk to and just be open and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need help. And so, just having that support, each other, just like you're saying, you know, backing each other up in good times, in tough times, because tough times will come in any relationship.
That's
There
right.
will be issues coming up, but learning how to deal with that, you know, as a couple. And you know, the next thing that I really like about marriage is compatibility. And when it comes to compatibility, it is so important for people to know, especially when you're getting into a relationship, that most often people think that we have to be the same, you know. And that's not true. Opposites attract. And what that really means, because we don't sit down to think really what that means. What that means is she's different from me. She has different strengths, and I have different strengths. I have weaknesses. She has weaknesses. I may be an extrovert or an introvert, and she's an opposite. I'll let you guys figure out who's who. But anyways, the beauty about that is that couples have to learn how to work with their differences, to see that as a plus and not a negative. Because sometimes we try and change each other. And I remember, when we were first married, I was trying to make her be like me, and she's trying to make me be like her. And that brings conflict,
That's right.
But then when you learn, it's okay for her to be her. She may be a morning person, I may be a night person, So those differences. So trying to change that won't work. What needs to work is finding how you complement each other, to see that difference can work together. And to give you an example, she is more detailed. I am more looking at the big picture. It's great to have a vision. You want to accomplish this thing, you want to go for it, I'm goal oriented and all that. But the problem is when you're that way, you miss so many pieces, and that's where now she comes in to complement me with her detail oriented. And so I began, when I learned that earlier on in marriage, I began to see the value of what she's bringing to the table, that her differences is actually coming to complement. So that complementing each other, that compatibility, it is so key in any relationship. And so for me, that's a big thing, and I guess you could agree that, that it has been a blessing, just getting to know having that compatibility with our differences.
That is so true. I think at this point you've already known who's an introvert and who's an extrovert. One person that I enjoy being in the background, and I think I've come to appreciate that and to learn that just by being in the background, I'm able to see the details. I'm able to make observations that when he's seeing the big picture, I'm seeing the details. I'm zeroing into those and being able to give him that feedback that I think this and the other. I'm one person that is scheduled, and things need to have a time when it needs to be done. A goal needs to have a deadline and those kind of things. And so to give you an example, for me when it comes to details is, okay, we're going to do this. My question will be when, for how long, and how much will it cost, and how will we undertake it. So those are the kind of things that I see myself, having that difference that really does bring the best out of us. Because when you merge those two things, the big picture and the detail oriented, then you really truly are able to accomplish much with that kind of an outlook. So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something else also great about marriage is when it comes to parenting, when both parents are involved, and I want to say this, especially for the young men out there, when you do get married and you have a family, I want to tell you, get engaged in the lives of your kids as young as they are, because the way God created us, we're not just there to provide, and that's great when you're providing financially and all these wonderful resources, that's wonderful, but also be engaged in that, because the kids need that. And we're so blessed to have two wonderful children, a young adult and a teenager, and being involved in their lives. We work as a team, trying to build them up and working together to bring the best out of them. And so that's a huge blessing to do that. You can imagine if only one of us was doing it. And sometimes that's the case even when people are married, just one person taking the load, and that becomes an issue down the road.
Yeah, and I think it also brings that aspect of how we do the parenting. Boniface is one person that will allow the kids to take adventures and to take a go at something, and I'm more of a protective person, like what if they get hurt, what if they get bullied, what if it's too harsh for them. And Boniface is more like, let them go out there and learn what they're going to do. And I've learned from that it has worked out for good for our kids, so that it builds up their esteem and builds up their character and confidence. And so just being able to have that balance of being cautious and at the same time being able to provide that arena of where they can go out, whether they're going to make mistakes or whether they're going to take a leap of faith, but allowing them to have their own character without putting fear in them. So parenting together is obviously one of the best things, one of the things that we truly enjoy. Mm-hmm. It has its challenges, but we still truly enjoy it.
Yeah, so, and one more thing that we could talk about when it comes to something we both love about marriage is just the aspect of being able to work together. And when it comes to planning life, when we got married, we were thinking about our future, our children, and other things we need to do, and also our personal goals. You know, we have personal goals, and we also have family goals of what we want to accomplish. And so it's such a blessing just providing that support for each other in different areas in our lives, you know, trying to see how can I make her the best that she can be, whether it's in a career, how do I support her, like you've heard she's an accountant, and seeing how do I help in that and her helping me in the different things that I do, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in business, publishing, and all that kind of work. We all bring value, you know, so we all contribute to each other. You know, in fact, one of the things that I can tell you that many people make a mistake, and this starts on, especially you've started a relationship and you're thinking about marriage, people decide to do their own thing. You know, I mean, separate, they're not working together. The right hand, it's kind of like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And that creates issues because you're going apart, you know. But you can, even though you're two different individuals, you can support one another in the different interests that you have, but still have common goals that you work together as a family.
And to add on to that, I think one way we've supported each other is in our careers. At a point in our 20 years of marriage, I have had to go back to school for more education, and the same for you. And we realized at some point it was not feasible for both of us to be at school at the same time with young children. So we decided he was going to go first, and then after that I went next, you know, and we were able to accomplish and support each other, and also support the dreams of our children, because they were going, they have sports, they have different things that they are doing that we need to get involved into. So not being too busy for them that we are not there for them. So we had to plan it very well, so that we are able to just have a cohesive plan that will make everyone win at the end of the day.
Okay.
What are some good qualities to look for in a potential mate?
Oh, this one is key. This one is one that one has to really think and plan very carefully. Let's look at it. Marriage was created by God, and so I think it's important for us to go back to the one who created it. It is important for a born-again Christian to choose a mate that is born again, and make sure that your values, your Christian values, and the values of this other person that you're picking as a mate are the same. Because you need to have that understanding that we want to build our marriage upon a godly foundation. And all that can only happen when you have that understanding that this is our goal, this is what we want to do. So I think it is key to choose a mate that has godly values, and you are in common agreement with that.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, because it's quite unfortunate that we live in a world where there's so much promiscuity, and unfortunately it's become acceptable. You know, in fact, people joke around having players and all kind of cheaters. In fact, even there are reality shows on that. You know, it's quite unfortunate, and the level of divorce is just so much. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. But here's what I want to tell you, that when somebody has that kind of a mindset, then they begin to accept anyone, you know, with any kind of values, and that creates so many problems. And people don't think about the future, they're just thinking of themselves. They forget that there are children involved, and most of the time down the road it's the children who get to face the consequences. So when you're looking for that mate, you have to see what are your values, you know, what kind of values does this person have, you know, because people might look, well, this guy is great, or this young lady looks great, they're promising, they have all these things going for them. But if you lack especially the aspect of integrity, that is a big thing. You know, it has to be somebody who respects, you know, somebody who has great values and who is of character. You know, those are key things that you have to look at in order to find this person who has these great qualities.
I think another aspect that is also key is to find a mate that is committed to the relationship. I mean, if you're committed to this relationship, the other person also needs to come in with the level of commitment that you do have, so that you're having the same goals and you're working towards the same goal of getting married, say for instance. Because it will be unfortunate if you're looking into, you've committed, you're so sold out to this, and this person is not. And so you're looking for a proposal, and him is just looking for somebody to pass time with. So you're at two different levels of commitment, and that becomes a problem, because one will feel frustrated and and feel like their time is being wasted. The other one will be having fun and doesn't care, because he is not looking for a commitment. So he's having fun and just taking you for a ride. So it is important at some point, when you're really looking to settle down, to have someone and to look into and have those conversations of what are your level of commitment to this. Because if you're looking into marriage, it will be very important for them to be also be looking for that too.
And that's an important aspect that you bring about, because I've seen so too often, people hanging into a relationship and one party is just not committed, So, and honest times, somebody gets really hurt and they feel cheated, because honestly, there's a reason why that person is not committing, And for sure, they're not ready to commit to you. That's for sure. You may be thinking to yourself, well, this person might be taking time to think about it. If there's no commitment, it's time for you to move on with your life. It's hard to say that, but that's just the reality of it. And the other thing that I think it's so much important is to know what are the goals of this person. What do they aspire to do in life? Do they have a plan? I'm not saying that at your age that you have everything all lined up and worked out, because you're all still trying to build your careers and you're all starting off. But if somebody has no specific vision, they have no goal, they have no purpose, they don't know what they're doing in their life, that's a huge concern that you would be having. But when you have somebody who has a vision, a goal, they know what they want to do with their lives, that's a very important quality to have in a relationship.
Right, yeah. I concur with you on that one too. The other aspect I think is respect. It is important for the person that you're looking to get into marriage with, and this is somebody maybe you've gotten to know after a couple of months. It's not just on the first date and you're like, oh, you don't respect me, but just having observed and see, how is he handling me? How is he handling my friends or my family or my parents? Is there an aspect of respect? Do they take things for granted? How do they present themselves? Because if you're going to make excuses when somebody who's disrespectful, that's a habit that might go into marriage, and it will be hard to reverse that, and that might lead into a lot of other frustrations, and maybe might escalate to other things, because once you're frustrated, you might also react in a different way. So the aspect of respect and how they handle you. Do they respect your boundaries as a woman, or as a guy? Does she respect your boundaries? When you say, this is my boundary for this, does he belittle it, or does she just forgo and just go into it whichever way? So I think it's important to look at the aspect of respect, because it's a flag light, or it's a red flag of how it's gonna be later on. So it's a red flag that you need not to ignore, but take into consideration.
And also, to go along with that, it's so important, for somebody to accept you for who you are. If somebody cannot accept you, your background, those things that you cannot change about yourself, your personality, if they have issues with that, they want to change you, that's an issue. Right there, that is an issue. It has to be that this person is real. They accept you for who you are. Because if they don't, somebody's going to be controlling. Because they're going to try and change you to be somebody who you're not, and you can't. That will bring a strain in this relationship. So if you find yourself in that place and this person is not willing and just keeps pushing for who you're becoming, it's a one-way kind of a thing, that's a problem, because any relationship has to be mutual. If it's just one person pursuing this relationship, it's going to go south, that's for sure. If it's one person just invested, that's a toxic relationship right there. So it has to be that aspect where you're accepting one another, and there's that mutual relationship going on.
After dating for a period of time, what are some things that could come up as red flags?
That's something to consider. After dating for a time, there are some things that you can observe that are red flags that you shouldn't ignore. And one that comes to mind is abuse. Any kind of abuse, whether it's verbal, emotional, or physical abuse. Those are red flags that should never, under any circumstances, be ignored. Because most people hanging into a relationship where they're being abused and they're suffering in that relationship, and they hang in there just with the hope that this person is going to get better, just because that person keeps apologizing and asking for forgiveness, but then again he repeats the same thing over and over again, and then again ask for forgiveness. So it's a habit that is not something that is going to go away. You can't wish it away. And so in that kind of a circumstance, I think that's a deal breaker. That's a time you say, you know what, it's time for me to move on.
And you're right, this is a very huge, deep topic actually, because you have to ask yourself several questions in this. And one of them is, number one, what kind of a background or exposure does somebody have? Because quite honestly, sometimes it might be that someone grew up in a very abusive family setting.
Right.
And because that's what they saw, they came there and they didn't know any better. They've grown up accepting that that's okay. And so they feel, in fact, I've had the concept where people say marriage is just about endurance. That's what it's about. There's nothing much to it. And so they find themselves in that situation and accept it's okay. If this person is still good, has other great qualities, but this person is abusive one on another, just tolerate. There's not more to expect. And that's a wrong concept completely. It's toxic, so to speak. In fact, we talk about toxic relationships, and unfortunately some people don't recognize that. So when there's that abuse, whether it's verbal, and whether it's like you've mentioned, whether it's emotional abuse, or maybe demeaning you. When we talk about emotional, it might be demeaning or spiteful things that might be said and over again, condescending remarks and stuff like that, or physical abuse, whatever that kind of physical abuse might be. These are real deep issues, and you're very right when you say that those things are not going to go away. That is true. They're only going to get worse, and the right step to take is really just to get out of it, like yesterday. And the unfortunate thing, when people say, well, let me just try and work things out, in the process, what happens is, many times there are those who realize, but they realize when it's too late. You've wasted so much time with this person in hoping that this is going to change. Now, the biggest disadvantage that you will have is that you miss out of good opportunities of meeting somebody else, because you're already engaged in this toxic relationship, So, and here's a big deal, and you've heard us talk about this a lot, is that the foundation you lay is so important in relation, right where you're at in college at this age, because that's the foundation you're going to build on. So if it's rocky, guess what? It's going to continue being rocky. If it's good, you're going to build on that good foundation. I know the beautiful thing about this is that when you have that good foundation that has been laid, even when you come and face issues or even personal differences that you have, you can always look back and say, this is not the way we started. Something is wrong here. Something is going on. Let's work through this. And you have a recourse, so to speak, because you have a reference point. Another point that I want to bring up that is a deal breaker, is dishonesty. When I talk about dishonesty, I'm talking about if somebody is hiding things from you. And this is separate from cheating, and we'll talk about that later. But dishonesty, where they don't tell you much about the things they hide from you.
Right.
They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about their lives or their issues. There are areas that are covered, And when that happens, and somebody says, well, okay, I'll just let this person be. Maybe that's the way they are. What are they hiding from you? You see, that right there is a red flag. what is it that they're hiding, because that is a time bomb just waiting to happen, and when it does explode, it's not gonna be pretty. So those are things you look at and you watch. And I often tell people, and maybe you can speak on this more, when it comes also to that gut feeling, there's that sense where somebody says, there's something I just don't feel right about this relationship, because there has to be that connectivity. You're connecting with something. If that connection is not there, I mean, this relationship, it's not going to go nowhere. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that aspect of connection is very important, and you can make it up. If you don't have that connection, you simply don't have that connection, and it could be because it's because of a reason. Maybe like you're saying, somebody's hiding something, and it's a big dark secret that I don't want you to find out, and so it hinders that connectivity. And this one person wants to connect, but the other one is like, I don't really want you to know me so much, because if you get to know everything about me, you might not like me. But I'm thinking, when you're really looking at marriage, I want to know the whole of you. I mean, I want to know, what is it that you believe in? What is it you're about? What is it that I need to know that is important? Because I don't want to, get into marriage and then you say, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I have 2 kids. And then you're like, didn't you think that was important for you to tell me before we got into all this? Not to say that you can't get married to somebody who has kids. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if that is not put out on the table before marriage, then it will be a problem after marriage. Because the question will become, what else haven't you told me? Because this is a big deal that you didn't tell me. And that issues of trust and mistrust will just come in there, and you don't want that. So whatever it is that you think will be a key issue that this person needs to know, and might be a surprise after marriage, just let it out there so they can know this is how it is. If you made mistakes, let them know if these are mistakes that will later on impact your marriage. So yeah.
And something else that I feel, I know we mentioned a little bit before, but I thought I would touch on as a deal breaker. I think it's important to know, do you have common values? Do you have common goals? Because sometimes maybe the career I want to choose might be, maybe I'll be traveling a lot. That's the kind of job that I will take, and it's not like a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. So you have to ask yourself, are you ready to put up with that? Are you ready to that kind of a lifestyle? So it might not be even character issues that you're dealing with, but you have to consider and put this into place. Or maybe the kind of job that this person does is a high-risk kind of a job, and so all these things you have to put into place and think about and consider and see, what am I exactly getting myself into, because when such issues are not addressed, or people rush into relationships, that's why you hear people get to the altar and somebody gets cold feet and they run away, or they don't show up. It's heartbreaking. And so when we're sharing these things with you, we're just trying to help you understand, that this is a lifetime commitment. You're giving yourself to this person. And so you need to look at these red flags and be careful. If you doubt, don't. I remember, there've been situations where you just, have to talk to somebody and say, you know what, you already have so much doubt about this, you're having cold feet about it, please don't, because you don't want to find out what's on the other side.
That's true. That's true. I think the other one that would be a deal breaker is somebody having side relationships. I mean, they have told you that they have proposed to you, they've told you they love you, and you are the one, and you're excited, you even have a ring to show for that, and then you realize, man, he has or she has other relationships besides you. And you're like, if you confront this person, they're like, what's the problem? We are not married. That would be an issue. Because if they can afford to have a relationship besides you, having made a commitment, done the proposal and all, then I think that should be a deal breaker. That should be a deal breaker. Because that will just get worse. When you get into marriage, that habit will not go away.
So, do you two have any final remarks?
Okay, well, let me say this to you. Quite often when it comes the whole thing about relationship, sometimes people really focus on, oh, we want to get married, and they think once you get married, something magical and mystical happens, and they will live happily ever after, as the movies will show us. But let me say this, if you've not built a good foundation, if you've not built a good relationship, just putting a ring to it doesn't mean that your marriage is going to work. You have to start laying the right foundation by choosing the right person, by spending time to talk, address issues as you're looking into the future to build this relationship. Because remember, the person that you choose to marry or get married to will indeed define your future.
That's true. Remember the God factor. Marriage was created by God. And so as you look into getting into this relationship, that will be one of the most relationships you'll get into, and it's a long-time relationship. When you think about till death do us part, that's serious stuff right there. And so it's something you want to involve God in. It's something you want to pray about along the way. As much as you have maybe a list, or you have these things that you're looking into, or you've taken classes to learn which mate to get and what qualities to look into, not which mate, but what qualities to look into, remember the God factor. Praying and asking God, am I making the right choice? Do you have that inner peace for the person that you are looking into? Do you have inner peace with the decision that you have made? Let him give you that inner peace, and you can go wrong with that.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening in. I hope you've at least learned a lot. This wasn't exhaustive. I'm sure you might be having questions. And like we said in this seminar, please do click on the link that we provided for you to ask questions, not just on this session, but all the other sessions that we have with the different speakers. We're here to provide the information that you need. And we wish you all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.